What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, shout out to Ness and the Boxing Voice. They released some information that I double backed on and did my research to find out about Undefeated, Unified, 3-belt, WBC, WBA, IBF, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Errol the True Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is 28 wins, no loss and no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He's 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. With that said, Errol Spence is widely considered to be top 2, if not the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He is definitely top 5 pound-for-pound best fighter in the world in Errol the True Spence Jr., right? Now, obviously, the world is clamoring to see Errol Spence face off against undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is 38 wins, no losses, no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age. He'll be 35 years of age September 28th, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. That's the fight that everybody wants to see. It's the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, highly anticipated, and it will be for all the marbles for Undisputed. But it seems like it's a struggle to get that fight over the hump. And so, shout out to Ness and Danny on the Boxing Voice, because they revealed today that Errol Spence is going to fight November 19th. The date is already secured, with or without Terence Crawford. And so I reached out to a few people, did my research, and that seems to be the case, that Errol Spence will be returning November 19th with or without Terence Crawford. And the fact that it's an ultimatum leads me to believe it will be without Terence Crawford. And it looks like the fight they're trying to convince Errol Spence to have is a fight with former unified WBC, WBA welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Keith one-time Thurman. Keith Thurman is 30 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 22 wins by way of knockout. He is 33 years of age, 5'7.5" with a 69-inch arm reach. Keith Thurman back in 2017 and Errol Spence was the biggest fight in the welterweight division. Keith Thurman, he unified the titles against former 2-division world champion Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia in a unification bout. Keith Thurman held the WBA, Danny Garcia held the WBC unification bout. March of 2017, Keith Thurman won the fight. Also in 2017, Errol Spence got his first opportunity at a world title when he faced off against former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer, Special K Kell Brook, in which he got an 11th round stoppage victory over Kell Brook to become a world champion for the first time in his career. And seeing as though both guys were with the PBC, Premier Boxing Champion, founder and advisor Al Heyman, it seemed to be a very easy match to get this fight over the hump and done. Well, Keith Thurman, he decided that he had some injuries that needed to be attended to. He started to tell the world that Errol Spence was going to get his opportunity down the road. He was trying to let the fight marinate. He looked at Errol Spence as his Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao mega fight, and it didn't come to fruition. Keith Thurman sat on the shelf for 2 years. The World Boxing Council President Mauricio Suleiman and 32 board members decided that they was going to relieve Keith Thurman of the WBC title, which Danny Garcia ended up fighting 2-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Sean Porter for the vacant WBC title. Sean Porter won the title. Okay, Keith Thurman was out the ring for 2 years. Errol Spence ended up September 2019 fighting Sean Porter in a unification bout to pick up the WBC belt, where he beat Sean Porter. Keith Thurman came back January of 2019, 2 years later, to face off against Josito Lopez. He looked very vulnerable. Then July of 2019, he actually got the actual fight that he was looking for. He defended his WBA title against Josito Lopez. Then he went to attempt to defend it against legendary 8 division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, July of 2019, and he lost. The only loss of his career. Okay, so he lost the WBA title. But during the mix of that, there was a lot of pursuing of Keith Thurman for Errol Spence. He called out Keith Thurman time and time again, to the point where Keith Thurman was giving Errol Spence the runaround. And then Keith Thurman finally admitted that he was feeling a certain kind of way because when legendary retired Hall of Fame iconic superstar boxer Floyd Money Mayweather gave an ultimatum, gave an option to Keith Thurman, fight Errol Spence, and if you beat him, I'll fight you. He felt like he was being set up. He felt like Errol Spence was his future Manny Pacquiao, Manny Floyd Mayweather moment, but he actually got the fight with Manny Pacquiao and he lost. So he's on record saying he misjudged the Errol Spence fight. Well, Errol Spence, he didn't take too kind of being shunned to the side, pushed to the side, and Keith Thurman, you know, downplaying him. Keith Thurman was going on record saying the young pup will get his opportunity soon enough, you know, don't worry about it, it's coming. Then Keith Thurman started to say, well, he never received the contract from Errol Spence pursuing him. Well, Keith Thurman was the A-side, okay? So Keith Thurman always uses this narrative that he never received a contract when it's a fighter that's looking to fight Keith Thurman, right? And so with that said, Errol Spence, he vowed to never ever fight Keith Thurman. He stated that it's not gonna happen, right? He took to social media time and time again, saying when I said never, I mean never. So he has no interest, said that he don't like Keith Thurman. He don't like how Keith Thurman treated him when he was wanting the unification bout and the fight overall. He gave him the runaround, so he said he'll never fight Keith Thurman. But it seems like they're trying to convince Errol Spence, that being the powers that be, possibly Al Heyman and his team, that Keith Thurman should be a replacement fight. Keith Thurman stated that he was notified that he was definitely in the plan B if they can't secure the fight with Terence Crawford for Errol Spence. Obviously, Errol Spence, he has a checklist where he stated that he wanted to fight Terence Crawford numerous of times now. Ever since his April 16th unification showdown with former WBA Cuban star welterweight world champion Yordenis Ugas, in which he got a 10th round stoppage victory, breaking Ugas' ribs, nose, and orbital bone, that, you know, he wanted Terence Crawford. He made it abundantly clear. After the fight, he said, I'm coming for Terence Crawford belt. I want Terence Crawford belt. He just aggressively pursued Terence Crawford. He has shirts made of Terence Crawford, calling out Terence Crawford. He put up memes on social media calling out Terence Crawford. So the Terence Crawford fight is clearly a fight that he wants, okay, and he's pursuing. And with that said, it looks like it may have hit a snag and a roadblock. And to say that he's going to fight November 19th with or without Terence Crawford, that speaks volumes in itself. And that's an indication that, well, just Terence Crawford fight may not be happening this year. Terence Crawford will be 35 years of age. Time is not on his side. Terence Crawford, I can understand if Terence Crawford, people are going to say that Terence Crawford is pricing himself out. Well, I can see that Terence Crawford at 35 is looking at this fight, the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, and he's trying to secure his future. It's understandable, Well, with that said, what other fight is there for Errol Spence outside of undefeated welterweight superstar title contender Jerron Boots Ennis, who has 29 wins, no losses, no draw, 27 big wins by way of knockout. He is 25 years of age, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. That's a big fight. Jerron Ennis is with Showtime. He's not with PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, and Al Heyman, but he is with Steven Espinosa and Showtime, okay? So that's a fight that could be made. There's also a home fight, right? He's born in New York. He represents Dallas, Texas, raised in Dallas, Texas, and that's what he represents. And there's another fighter right there in undefeated Mexican superstar welterweight title contender Virgil Ortiz Jr., who's 19 wins, no loss and no draw, 19 wins by way of knockout, 25 years of age, 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach. They once upon a time trained in the same gym. They both from Dallas. They could have that fight at Cowboy Stadium and it would sell out. It would be a massive draw. It could be on pay-per-view. It would be a massive draw. The problem is, once again, that means Steven Espinosa and Showtime will have to do business with Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions. And that's simply not going to happen because, once again, DAZN is going to want to be involved. And that's the stickler and the holdup for Gervonta Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, and Jaime Munguia and Jamal Charlo. So, with that said, I'm hard-pressed to see Errol Spence versus Virgil Ortiz. Jaron Boots Ennis, he's the mandatory for Errol Spence's belt. So that makes sense. There is the Stanionis fight. He's an undefeated mandatory challenger. There's other names, but for Errol Spence to capitalize on his pay-per-view, and you can have Errol Spence and Keith Thurman in Dallas at Cowboy Stadium, AT&T in Dallas Cowboy Stadium, that makes sense. If Errol Spence is not going to fight Jaron Boots Ennis, and he's not going to fight Terence Crawford, well, it only makes sense that Errol Spence fights Keith Thurman. Financially, business-wise, that only makes sense. And even for his legacy, right? I understand his disdain towards Keith Thurman, his dislike towards Keith Thurman, but at the end of the day, it's a business, it's his legacy, and it's a legacy fight for him. Him having fighting Keith Thurman and in 2023 fighting Terence Crawford, it makes sense. So, looks like Errol Spence will be returning to the ring November 19th, with or without Terence Crawford. Again, like I said, you know, if it's with Terence Crawford, it's going to be in Vegas, neutral site. If it's not with Terence Crawford, I can expect to see this fight take place in Dallas, Texas. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all in one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Roll. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.